We're past the halfway mark at this year's Sicmf, and so coming to you live for the 6th day now, this is the 2024 Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. Thank you for joining this live stream and for supporting these 10 days of chamber music magic on the southern tip of Africa. The storms and wet weather may continue outside, but the interior of the Stellenbosch Conserve is a hive of activity, rehearsals and conversations as we gear up for the penultimate faculty concert. There are 3 works on the program tonight, but all 3 only spanning a period of 40 years between 1877 and 1917. The Caprice of Danish and Russian airs by Saint-Saëns, Maurice Ravel's Le Tombeau de Couperin, a favorite of mine and here arranged for the wind instruments, and finally a new work and a new composer for many of us, the Octet for Strings by Voldemar Bargiel, who was the half-brother of Clara Schumann, and more about him later. We love receiving your encouraging comments and feedback during and after each of the faculty concerts, so don't forget to let us know where you're listening from and what you're enjoying the most. And if you're on social media, please use the hashtag #SICMF2024 so that we can pick it up and reshare it here for others to enjoy. The second Dvorak piano quintet last night was a particular hit, with Louise Me writing, "Brilliance, so privileged to see this quintet perform at the Endler. Bravo." I think that's how we all felt. And then Aidan Smith commenting, "Such a privilege to have this festival in our region. Thank you for the live stream. It's the greatest joy to experience this cutting-edge festival. Courageous and brilliant program." Hope you're listening, Nina Schumann. The Dvorak was a treat. Thank you so much. Well, we'll certainly pass on your compliments to the artistic and festival directors. They certainly have a winning recipe here. In the first of our highlights from last night, here is the South African premiere of one of the movements of Viola Spaces, a set of concert studies by Garth Knox with faculty violists Jennifer Stum and Zandi van Dijk. Well, if you'd ever wondered what two violists jamming together sounds like, there's your answer. And if you're interested in hearing more about that piece and what it's like to play, why not revisit my interval interview with Zandi van Dijk from last night's live stream? It's on YouTube and Facebook. The usual daily program has continued here with student ensemble concerts and a public masterclass with faculty double bassist Marichen Meyer. A panel discussion on auditions and competitions is just wrapping up over in the Janisch Hall, but let's hear what some of the student participants are up to as we cross once again to Jason.
Hi John, I am here with a good friend of mine, Karen Donson. Karen, this is the first time that you are an audience member after about 6-7 years. What does it feel like being on the other side of the stage?
It's actually more 10 years if it wasn't for COVID. But there's a sense of sadness, but it's also nice to not always be stressed that I'm about to be on stage and I can actually see everything and enjoy it from more like an adult point of view and a professional point of view. So it's really been... It has been different. I didn't think it would be, but it's really cool.
No, I'm glad. Listen, so what are we looking forward to for tonight's program? Like, what's the highlight that you're looking forward to tonight?
The Ravel. I'm not going to embarrass myself. I try to just say the title, but the Ravel, it's a woodwind quintet, so it has a horn in it, which I play, French horn. So I've been part of those for all my life, so it's nice to see like people doing it properly professionally.
Nah, lekker. So you've been here since day one. You've watched all the performances. Tell me, what was the highlight so far?
The American in Paris with the brass sextet. Just seeing all of the professionals like playing amazingly and the coaches just doing their thing. And one of my really good friends, Lekono, was actually on tuba, so that was also awesome, and he played amazingly, so that was definitely the best thing for me so far.
I say shout out to you, Lekona. As you can see, John, the people are making their way to the foyer, up the stairs, ready to get started for this night of music. And while I get my seat, back to you, John.
Thanks, Jason. The perfect introduction. And you're right, the main attraction tonight is our faculty concert at 8 o'clock. But we have a special feature for you before then. Those who've been watching these live streams or who've attended the Sicmf many times before will recognize the familiar face sitting next to me, and a face that can either be found in the audience during the faculty concerts or occasionally in the cello section on stage. And this is in fact Ethan's 7th year at the Sicmf. He's previously won the Mabel Quick Overseas Bursary Competition and is playing in the Fine Music Radio Bursary Awards competition later this month. Fingers crossed. And he occasionally, or I should say often, ad hocs with the Cape Philharmonic Orchestra and their symphony concerts. So Ethan Lawson,
yes.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
It's a pleasure.
What keeps you coming back to the Sicmf year after year?
Honestly, I feel like everyone here that does the same can say the same. It's like a little pocket in the year where you get here and you're just constantly surrounded with people that are so knowledgeable about music, and the passion you have after leaving is just like unmatched. Every single year you just feel like you want to do this for a living, so it's kind of like a boost.
And you're all fired up afterwards then?
Sometimes a little bit tired for 2 days, but then afterwards you want to start practicing.
Yeah, because it's a hectic program, especially for someone like you who are not only participating as a student but also on the stage playing alongside some of these
it's a privilege,
role models.
What a brilliant opportunity, honestly. Like just being able to, I was speaking to Maya Bogdanovic last night, just so casually on the side of the road about compositions and competitions and her history and whatever, and it's so interesting actually how there is an opportunity for students like me who can just like talk to these people who've been through what we want to be going through eventually, so it's quite interesting.
It's a very special kind of ecosystem and environment that's created. As you say, just chatting to top cellist on the side of the road. When else might you have that opportunity? Probably have to go to New York City.
Yes,
You'd be lucky. She'd probably be quickly jumping into a cab or something, off to the next engagement.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, it's such a privilege, honestly. Love this festival, and really, I think this year is a bit different for me in contrast to the others because I'm so close with the people that are running the things behind the scenes now. So you see what actually goes into it, and it's a lot of prep, a lot of prep. Usually you just rock up and you're like, oh, cool, a festival, you know. But yeah, so really hats off to them for making this happen because it's a lot of fun for a lot of people.
A great piece of music. It's impressive from the outset, but then the closer you look, the more there is to see, and then you realize with a festival like this, how many moving parts there are, why the preparation is to start months and months beforehand, all to culminate. You mentioned Maya a little bit earlier. You had a masterclass with her just yesterday.
Yes,
how did that go?
She's an amazing teacher. Like the way that when you play and there's something that you can improve on, if something needs to be said, she'll stop. But if she can just encourage you and shout, vibrato or increase the bow speed or whatever, then she starts playing with you while she's standing upright. And we had a really magical moment on the climax of the Algar Cello Concerto first movement, that big scale,
absolutely,
where both of us played in sync, and it was like, oh yes, this is working, So really incredible experience. She's a brilliant.
She had her instrument there as well, demonstrating.
Exactly. Gosh. But it was really powerful. Just to also like you hear people talk about pieces and stuff, but to be able to get a masterclass from someone who's definitely performed this concerto many times, all over the world, that's a different thing. Where she knows exactly, like the projection that you need to play it with orchestra and everything. It's really cool.
Is there one special kind of takeaway or revelation from that half an hour, or whatever it was that you had with her?
Actually, I was thinking we were talking about this last night, a bunch of the people here. The first thing she told me was, I play for myself. And it sat with me for a while, and I realized that she doesn't mean only I use my instrument to, process my emotions or whatever, but also, like quite literally, I'm not playing for the person at the back of the hall. And if I think about them and getting the sound to reach them, then sometimes you don't even have to focus on the weight or the speed or proximity to the bridge because it comes out of you. Once you obviously practice enough to realize what you're supposed to be doing technically. But anyway, so that was quite amazing actually to realize you can just be and just live in performances if you practice effectively enough to have the technique backing you, So anyway, that was powerful.
Amazing. All these kind of almost mind games or aspects of psychology. Almost.
Very psychological, definitely. So fascinating.
Have you played the concerto before?
I'm going to play it in October with CPO for the Youth Music Festival.
Oh, fantastic.
So
awesome.
that will be the first time.
Gosh, that's going to be an
I'm
amazing
really looking forward to it.
It's
really,
a fantastic
really cool.
work.
That's an amazing piece, honestly. That and Dvorak for me is, I know it's the mainstream concertos, but there's a reason for that.
Precisely.
They're really, amazing.
Gosh. And at this festival, I mean, there must be, you mentioned friends, so many colleagues, relationships you kind of build.
Yes.
You probably bump into those people outside of Chamber Fest.
Yes.
But then are there others that maybe you only see every time you come to Stellenbosch, and then you kind of rekindle, you pick up those
Definitely. I think
straight away?
it's so funny because I got here this year and there were people that I haven't seen since 2019's festival.
Gosh,
and we were like, oh my word, where are you? Still playing. And it's really cool. Awesome place to just reconnect with everyone. And honestly.
So
cool.
you're doing your masters now, you mentioned, here at Stellenbosch.
Yes. I've been really busy with the practical things, but this thesis needs to have some time after this festival, and then it should get on its way.
I can imagine that might be the second priority.
Yeah.
But you very much see a career in music ahead of you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, God willing, that's what I feel like. That's the only skill I really have, So I love it.
But something that, of course, must be very fulfilling and rewarding for you, and of course brings great pleasure to others.
Music's powerful, man, and cringe quote, but that one thing of if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, and it's so true. I mean, obviously practicing is work, but if you love practicing as well, you just do it, and then you're so fulfilled when it works out. And obviously we have our dips, any job has,
Everyone
but
does, But it's less of a chore if it's
so fulfilling. Yeah.
So we see you on stage again tomorrow night
Yes, indeed.
for some of those larger works in the
yes.
last faculty concert, and then with the Festival Symphony Orchestra.
Yes, Friday and Sunday. Yeah, it's going to be nice. The Borodin's really
It's
fun to play.
fantastic, especially
It's
that
like
first
acoustic
movement.
metal, man. Like
Yeah,
really.
really.
Yes. So cool. Love it.
For the strings as well, not just the brass.
Literally. You can really attack the string. That's awesome. Thank you.
Ethan, thank you so much
Appreciate
for joining us now. So, cello concertos, we've been discussing, are somewhat more common than the bass trombone concerto that we heard last night. So here is Mark Hampson as soloist in the final movement of Daniel Schneider's jazz-infused work entitled Sub-Zero that featured in last night's faculty concert. It's day 6 at the Sicmf, and we've reached now the midpoint of the evening concerts on offer here. 5 down, 5 to go. So let me tell you more about the first work on tonight's program, the Caprice on Danish and Russian airs, Opus 79, by French composer Camille Saint-Saëns. It was written in 1887, the same year as the folk-inspired Dvorak Quintet that closed last night's program. This caprice was dedicated to Maria Fedorovna, who was Danish by birth, but thanks to her 1881 marriage to Tsar Alexander III, had become the Empress of Russia And in spite of the dedication and the Danish-Russian inspiration, the actual purpose of the work was performance at Easter concerts hosted by the French Red Cross in Russia. The Caprice showcases Saint-Saëns' flair for combining virtuoso fireworks with romantic lyricism. It juxtaposes a Danish folk melody and 2 Russian ones, supplemented by material of the composer's own invention. After a grandiose introduction, the charming Danish tune is presented by the flute and subjected to variations and thematic development that allows each of the wind instruments to shine. So listen out for those cameo moments. This is followed by the first of the 2 Russian airs, providing a contrasting, more melancholic thematic idea. The second Russian air is full of energy. Saint-Saëns himself played the piano for the St. Petersburg premiere. And so to set the appropriate sound world for this work, let's listen back to the beguiling, lilting second movement showcasing Dvorak's use of Slavonic folk melodies from last night's Piano Quintet No. 2 that was played by Andrei Baranov and Anna Vasilena, violins, Maya Egashira, viola, Maya Bogdanovich, cello, and Emanuel Ivanov, piano. a sprightly and colourful start to this evening's 6th faculty concert here at the 2024 Sicmf. Sorry I didn't have a chance to bring you into that piece, but you can see that we had Ekaterina Kornishina, who will be my guest in the interval on stage, flute along with Yao Guang Chai, clarinet, Dwight Parry oboe, and Megan Jeffrey Prince piano in that rendition of the Caprice on Danish and Russian airs, Opus 79 by Camille Saint-Saëns, a combination of traditional tunes but with Saint-Saëns' own compositional input. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, a lovely work in the way that it gives each of the instruments at various points cameo moments. We haven't perhaps heard all that much of the strings at this year's, or rather the winds at this year's festival. We've heard a lot from the strings in contrast. So the first half of tonight's concert is kind of a celebration of this very expressive and colourful section of the instrument families. And so the next work is by Maurice Ravel. It was originally for piano, but tonight we hear an arrangement for wind quintet, a recent arrangement by Mason Jones. And there's Henny, as always, setting up the stage just the way it should be for each instrumental arrangement and configuration. But this is Le Tombeau de Couperin. It's 6 movements, but we're going to hear 4 tonight. Maurice Ravel originally wrote this work between 1914 and 1917, and then later orchestrated it, and it pays homage to the French Baroque composer François Couperin, but also a nod to the broader French Baroque keyboard tradition. But importantly, it's not meant to be an imitation of Couperin's music, just using the style and era of Couperin as a kind of starting point and contextualizing device. So each of the movements reflects a specific Baroque dance form filtered through the prism of Ravel's distinctive early 20th century musical sensibility. And poignantly, the suite is a celebration of the past, but also is a personal testament, with each movement being dedicated to the memory of a friend that Ravel lost during the First World War. But despite all of this, the suite isn't a funeral dirge or a series of laments, but it's a contemplative, thoughtful remembrance of past music and past lives. So the 4 movements we're going to hear tonight are Prelude, Fugue, Minuet, and the Rigodon, and you will hear how each of them is quite contrasting. And we're going to welcome 5 of our wind faculty artists onto the stage very shortly for this work. You may even have a sneak preview of them in the green room now and then. All the accessories that wind players require. But that's a very important one, a music stand. And of course, we're coming to you live from the Endel Hall in Stellenbosch. This being the 6th faculty concert. We've had student concerts throughout the day. We had a public masterclass with Marichen Meyer, double bass, a little bit earlier. And then a very interesting conversation in the Janusz Hall just before the concert, which I'll be telling you a little bit about in the interval, because Ekaterina, who's just come on stage with the flute, will be my guest just after this piece. So we hear Ekaterina, Jeffrey Pilkington, French horn, Ivy Ringel, bassoon, and last but not least, Dwight Parry, oboist running in, and Yao Guang Chai, clarinet. Almost all of these musicians, festival family members, although Ekaterina, this is her first festival. I suspect Ivy as well, but I'll need to check and get back to you on that one. But here is the 4 movements comprising Le Tombeau de Couperin by Ravel. Gosh, and what a lick that final rigadon movement was played at. I don't think I've ever heard quite a fast rendition on the piano, let alone wind instruments. Gosh, and Ravel's masterful orchestration, the way he really brings out so many inner parts, different colors with those instruments. Bravo to our faculty artists for bringing that off. Ekaterina Kornishina, flute, Yao Guangchai, clarinet, Dwight Parry, oboe, Ivy Ringo, bassoon, and Jeffrey Pilkington, horn. The four movements from Ravel's Le Tombeau de Couperin. In the order we heard them, the prelude, fugue, minuet, and rigadon. And the appreciative audience here in the Endler Hall on their feet, speaking with their hands. Would it be too much to hope for an encore? I want to hear the other two movements of the Couperin. But that caps off the first half of this sixth faculty concert, coming to you live from the 2024 Sicmf. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to be outside in the foyer again, but chatting to Ekaterina, who's just performed in the last two works. So she'll be hot off the stage, so to speak, and I hope you'll join me for a little bit of insight into life as a flutist, a flautist, some of the highlights, what it means for her as a first-timer at this year's Sicmf. So don't go away. Welcome back to our interval interview. And for those of you who think we've been a bit biased the past few days, focusing on the string instruments, you'll be very pleased to see and hear, after that wonderful first half of music by Saint-Saëns and by Ravel, that we're introducing and interviewing tonight our faculty. You're going to have to tell me whether you prefer being called a flutist or a flautist.
A musician.
A musician, there we go, who plays the flute.
Yes.
Ekaterina Kornyshiva, Katya, and very grateful to have her join me this evening. We're going to find out a little bit more about what went out on stage, what went on in the Janusz Hall just before the concert, and what else has been going on in and around Stellenbosch this week. So, how was this first half? I'm a massive fan of that Ravel, and to hear that intricate wind quintet, gosh, it was a very quick pace, your final rigodon.
Well, for me it was a special time today because I've never played this piece, rather in orchestra, rather in like wind quintet. Of course, I heard it many times, so it was a big pleasure, but not only in this concert hall, because we have such a great team here. We matched so much with my colleagues, and I don't know, it was kind of a magic, the whole process for us, which you cannot see because you do not rehearse with us, but it's like a continuation of so many things, and it's just like the output of it. Like,
but we can feel it.
I hope you can.
Without a doubt, I mean, sitting there watching, you could just feel the passion, the energy, the friendship, the camaraderie.
Yeah, it's a great magic we have. Not often you have this type of magic with musicians, and I think that's what we all are searching for, always, musicians. Yeah. Because it's okay also sometimes not to have, matching personalities with someone, but when you get it, it's such a pleasure.
A lot of people comment, especially on this Chamber Music Festival, as having a very special kind of family feeling about it, a very special energy. Yeah. Have you felt that yourself?
Absolutely, because I was invited also by people who are kind of my family, and they are my very good friends, and they told me, oh my God, Katya, you should come. I mean, it's such a great place with such great people, and it's just our place, like when you are talking to friends and they tell you that's the place you want to be.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely like this. People here are so warm and open, and it's so easy to talk about so many important things, because in classical music industry we often are not being honest with each other, with ourselves, first of all, and it's amazing to meet so many people from so many different countries, but who are kind of on the same page. Yeah. For me, this is surprising because it's not often you can meet that nowadays.
And does it fill you with some hope for the future, that things are going to be okay?
I always have hope. I'm very hopeful about future in general.
It's the only way to be, a little bit optimistic.
I wouldn't call it an optimistic. I think I'm a pessimist, but I'm hopeful pessimist. But I think the pessimism brings into my life the hope.
Yes.
Because I know that it's all going bad, but I'm going to have my best life.
You've got to acknowledge the challenges.
Yeah, so I am optimistic, but knowing the reality. Let's call it that way.
Yes, realistic.
Realistic, yes.
Do you think the format of the festival works well? These faculty concerts in the evening where the students can really see you doing, your artistry.
Definitely, and the most important thing I believe is that they can play with us. I think that's for any student is the biggest opportunity that they can have, because we can have lessons, we can teach things, but it will never replace the experience of playing with the person who is more advanced or skillful, because you immediately try to reach that level by just being next to this person. So it's more, it's important also talking part in our profession and in teaching, but practical one is as well, and I think many people underestimate this part. So in this festival, it's beautiful, genius, perfect way of using the best of educational knowledge that we have, and that's how it should be.
You led a public masterclass earlier this week with some of the student participants, and how did that go?
Well,
did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. I think people also did enjoy it because we were dancing, clapping, screaming. We were doing so many different things, and everyone was involved. And it's not a very typical flute class, I believe, but I didn't want to teach flute. As I said before, I don't really like to call myself a flutist because I am a musician, and I want students here also being musicians. You know, it's just you express yourself with flute or with whatever instrument. Even with this chair, you can play something, right?
Yes.
So the
that
core of
later.
it is to be a musician, not the instrument you play.
So, this
So the
seems-
masterclass was amazing. It was beautiful, warm, open. Everyone was having fun, and that was what mattered to me.
So this seems to be an important part of your philosophy that
Yes.
you hope to impart to the students, this sort of all-round sort of musicianship as a way, and not thinking of
Yes.
yourself in a silo or limited.
Absolutely. My philosophy is that we musicians should just enjoy each other and nothing else.
That's very refreshing to hear, because as we kind of suggested earlier, there are a lot of challenges as well, and life is not always easy, and perhaps almost every day a musician, when they're in the practice
Yeah.
room, might be thinking, gosh, is this what I should be doing? Am I cut out for this? Do I have what it
Yes.
takes?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this is interesting because you mentioned a little bit earlier you're
Sorry,
on-
I just got a bit after
you
playing.
should have glasses of wine.
No,
for-
not yet, but
Shame, and of course you've just come straight
Sorry,
off the
no.
stage as well.
sorry, yeah. So what
But
was the question?
You mentioned earlier you're a psychologist as well.
Well, I
This
cannot.
seems to be coming across in...
Well, I cannot fully call myself a psychologist, because psychologist is the person who studies 10 years in the university and is like a medicine, like a doctor work profession. But I have a qualification, like additional degree in psychology. So I'm kind of a psychologist consultant. So I do not treat diseases, but I can consult on basic things.
Yes.
And I can work with people who are not ill, but they are just lost or they need some help, life help. And I wanted to do that because we musicians struggle a lot of things, like me right now with my throat.
Oh goodness, sorry. Is there a doctor? I'm just kidding.
No,
Is there
but
some water?
It's just very dry. When you play a lot, it
course.
starts to. Oof. Oh, and with this weather, I got a bit sick, so sorry.
Well,
So yeah, yeah.
we haven't been putting on the best weather for you either this week.
Yes,
I
I have
apologize.
some questions to that.
Yes.
It was my dream to come to South Africa, and you imagine like, oh my God, I'm gonna come here, walk with lions and penguins. It's gonna be sun and I don't know, some monkeys. But then you just see a concert hall, students,
Yes.
rain, and
Sorry.
steak in the evening.
Gonna have to come back.
I wish. Yes, you own me. This weather owns me. I come back.
Well, I think everyone in Cape Town and Stellenbosch is quite surprised at just how the cold fronts have been coming relentlessly. And
Yes.
this is very unusual for us,
Well-
but on the other hand, not an entirely bad thing, because we also need our drinking water dams to fill up and that kind of thing. So,
Well, but I stay after the festival. I stay a few days, so I will be able to see
Okay.
a bit. Yeah, yeah.
so I just want to pick up again on this aspect of then psychology. That
Yes,
you, I mean,
yes.
this must really augment you as a teacher as well when you interact with students, because you engage with them on a different level as well,
Yeah.
not just on what's going on musically, but on
Yes.
what's going on in their
Yes.
minds as
and,
well.
I believe that each professor in any profession should have a basic education in psychology, just basics. I don't speak about being like specific, because you work with people. When you're a teacher or even when you're a musician, I believe it's very useful, because you work with human beings, and this subject studies human beings. And when I work with kids, I first of all, and why I actually wanted to study psychology, because this is what I felt as a problem while I was studying, that no one treated me like a person. You know what I mean? I'm not
as a robot
I do
almost,
not-
or as a
not
musician,
a robot.
but
I don't
without
wanna,
the humanity.
I don't want to be harsh, well, because it's the reality is that the world is what it is. But I think the system itself, cannot be applied to individuality in music. The system itself is contradicting the world individuality. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it didn't make sense to me, and I wanted to know, oh my God, so I'm an individual, so my students are individuals, so we're all different, so we need different approach, we need different type of
There's
things
no
that
one
motivate
size
us.
fits all.
Of course there are basics in learning, but at the same time we are all different. We even have different fingerprints, We're not the same, and it's amazing. but only if you can see that and see what this particular person needs at this particular moment. Some people are having this talent just by itself, you know. Great professors, they do have this talent.
You were so
Oh my God!
wonderful.
Oh my God! Thank you.
We have to cheers.
Come on, thank you.
Congrats, guys.
Thank you, guys. I'm coming back to you. The best players. I mean, we are the best quitters. I love them. I just literally love these people, and yeah, it's just pure love, pure love.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Yeah.
cheers to that.
I think
Can
I made
drink?
the wrong
Can I
choice
drink on
with
the
my
card?
instrument here. Should have become a wind
Well, I don't know if I
player
can
as well.
drink now, but can I please?
Yes, please have a sip. So, just very quickly then, to,
So, yeah.
touch on the conversation that happened just
Yes.
before this concert on auditions, competitions. I could only stay for the first few minutes, but while I was there talking about how competitions are maybe an important kind of means to an end, they shouldn't be an end in themselves, and they're what you then do with it afterwards, and whether you use those opportunities to kind of launch your career. What happened after that in the discussion? Were there any kind of conclusions or
I had to
nuggets of
leave because I
truth
had to
that-
play. I
Oh, right.
unfortunately didn't finish myself that conversation, but in few days I have a lecture where I'm gonna talk about what prevents us to play perfect. As we all wish, we want to all do perfect things. You know, I want to give perfect interview, but I already didn't, thanks to my friends. We always want to be perfect, and that's impossible. And we call it mistakes. So the subject is like how not to make mistakes.
Yes.
Well, just not to call them mistakes. I'm gonna I'm gonna spoil you a bit the conversation. So I will give a lecture on that topic, and unfortunately I couldn't finish that talk because I had to prepare for the concert I was
Yeah.
playing, the first one. So.
But do you have any sort of feelings, very strong feelings about competitions? Maybe for those young musicians who might be watching now, who weren't part of the conversation earlier, shouldn't they enter? We were reminded, I think it was Mike who told us, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I can say as a individual, I can say that I personally do not respect competitions. I believe that we cannot compete in subjectiveness, and we basically, what happens in the world, the biggest trauma of 21st century in classical music is that we are competing in our the sameness. And it's an absurd, to me personally, it's an absurd world, and it doesn't show, for me, I never, you know, we all are used to judge musicians by, oh, he won this competition, he won that competition. I never judged musicians that way. I first listen how they play, and then I see. I mean, I don't like to judge in general, so for me it's always a problem. I don't even understand why I have to do this, why I have to do that to other people when I have me. But well, what I'm trying to say is competitions are, of course, the important part of the journey. And the fact that I do not participate in competitions, and it's my personal opinion, doesn't mean that everyone has to do the same. And I made my choice, and I pay a price for that, of course. It's a different path. It's a maybe harder path. Maybe one day I decide and I participate in a competition. I don't know. But to me, it just doesn't make any sense to participate there. I'm not talking about personal competition when you compete with yourself. I can do that at home, you know, or with my friends, or even though competition itself is just a word that I don't like, and it's stupid. I mean, to me, it's stupid.
Maybe better to have festivals like this,
Festival.
non-competitive festivals.
There is nothing to compete in music. Oh my God, there's nothing that you have to compete in music, and not with other people. Just compete with yourself. I don't know.
Exactly, as you suggest, just trying to become a better version of yourself every day. And
I
just
do not deny, in general, competition. You know, it's also natural human being desire. But the thing is, when it becomes an illness, you know, when it becomes everything you do,
a compulsion or an
obsession, and unfortunately, it's cultivated by a lot of professors in our industry. And well, then we get so many traumatized people who come to me and they're like, they don't love music anymore. They do not like to play their instruments. And or we have like people who won 50 competitions and they're completely traumatized and they are still not very popular in the classical music industry. So the question is why, and psychology have answers on that. I mean, I believe I could find those answers through psychology.
Lots to learn, lots to think about,
Yes,
lots to discuss.
definitely.
We need to go, but very quickly, quick fire questions. You've got to commit and give me a reason for your answer.
Okay.
Mozart or Mendelssohn?
Mozart, because he hated flute. Just to tease him.
Bach or Brahms?
Oh, I cannot choose. I'm sorry. It's just impossible. Impossible.
Schubert, Schumann?
Schumann.
Yeah?
Yes.
Can you give a reason?
It's just personal. It's just personal feeling. I love Schumann.
Katerina, thank you for being here tonight. Welcome to the Sicmf. Thank you for glorious performances earlier.
you.
More to come still. Enjoy your wine
you.
and your time here. We're going to go and check what else is going on in the conserve with Jason.
Thank you.
Hi there, John. I'm here with one of our international faculty, Mr. Tartaglione. Sir, how has South Africa treated you so far? How is your experience here in Stellenbosch and here at the festival?
It's lovely. I love to be here. It's like a dream. Every night there is one of the best performances you can ever hear around the world. And then next day, it's even better. So it's unbelievable. And I'm having a wonderful time with our orchestra. They really every single day improve in a way that is so fast. And the smile, the joy in their faces is wonderful. And my friend here, my assistant, said, is helping a lot over here. And it's a wonderful joy to make so many friendships around here.
I'm so glad. Mr. Laseri, what are we doing after this?
I can't say. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna get some sleep and then prepare for rehearsal tomorrow, of course.
Okay, we'll take you on your word. As you can see, we are getting ready for the second half of our program. So back to you, John.
Just a moment.
Thank you very much.
And we're back, and just to get you excited about the next piece of music coming up, Waldemar Bargiel, who lived from 1828 to 1897. So he was a German composer and conductor who was the maternal half-brother of Clara Schumann, the wife of composer Robert Schumann. Clara was 9 years older than Bargiel, and she was a valued friend and confidant of his. So a student at the Leipzig Conservatory, Bargiel's early career was significantly boosted by his association not only with the Schumanns, but also with Felix Mendelssohn. And as was the case with Johannes Brahms, a recommendation from Robert Schumann helped Bargiel secure his first publications. Now, Bargiel's works, which included symphonies, overtures, string quartets, and piano music, are noted for their structural clarity, lyrical qualities, and solid craftsmanship. So listen out for those qualities now in this Octet in C minor, which was composed in 1877. He arranged it for a double quartet, and the composer had clearly soaked up the lush harmonic vocabulary of his contemporaries while retaining the formal clarity and contrapuntal nuance of Brahms. So while I head inside, because I think I'm the last one out here, let's listen back to the Encore to which we were treated last night. This is now the third movement from the Piano Quintet No. 2 by Dvorak that capped off last night's faculty concert. Hall for the second half of the 6th faculty concert here at the Sicmf. Voldemar Bargiel, his Octet in C minor, opus 15a, comprising 3 movements. Well, whatever my expectations were for this Octet by Waldemar Bargiel, they have been exceeded. What a fantastic work, absolutely gripping, and that electrifying finale. All the audience in the Endler Hall here is so eager to show their appreciation. They even anticipated the composer's final chord there. But bravo to our faculty violinists, Andrei Baranov, Anna Vasileva, Nicola Daltricor, Suzanne Martens, our violists, Zandi van Dijk and Maya Egashira, and then Boris Andrianov and Peter Martens, cellos. In that fantastic performance. It's been so cool to watch your comments roll in on the YouTube live stream as well. Mariana, can't put it better than you when you say what a wonderful sound of 8 excellent string players in this musical ensemble. And Andre, once again like last night, perfect balance. And indeed, what a treat to hear such sublime musicianship capping off the 6th faculty concert at this year's Sicmf. One of the great string octets in the repertoire, apparently. Why don't we hear it more often? And this is part of the beauty of this festival and the work that artistic director Nina Schumann does, finding these pieces. For me, this is probably one of the gems I've discovered this week that I never knew existed, but that I will now come back to, having heard it here tonight. It's one thing finding it online, hearing a recording on YouTube, Spotify, but nothing like hearing it in the flesh. And I think our team do a pretty good job conveying the sound on our live stream as well. But as you can see and hear, the atmosphere in the Endler is glorious. And what a treat. An encore for us. Who knows what it'll be?
encore can we play when we have wonderful red shoes? Only tango. But what can we play when we have no time to rehearse? A slow tango. Enjoy.
what could be more appropriate after those sparkling C major finale chords of the Octet by Bargiel that we just heard than a sultry slow dance by Astor Piazzolla, a tango to take us all home, to take us dancing into the foyer. And if you happen to be in Stellenbosch, there's a student composers jam coming up in just a few minutes, and that's going to be exciting. But just showcasing once again the versatility of our faculty artists. Never mind all the energy, exertion, stamina that went into that octet. That's okay. We'll just fast forward 100 years and play a completely different style of music, perfectly and sublimely executed to carry our audience tonight off into dreamland as they reflect on the beautiful sounds and strains that have permeated our ears, our minds, here at the Sicmf this evening. For the last 2 hours at this 6th faculty concert here at the Sicmf, we found ourselves inhabiting the late 19th, early 20th centuries in music this evening by Saint-Saëns, Maurice Ravel, and perhaps a new find for you, that Octet by Waldemar Bargiel. Join us again tomorrow for the 7th and final faculty concert, a program that I'm very much looking forward to, with enlarged forces on the stage and no fewer than 4 small concerti, depending on how you count them. A concerto for violin and cello by Vivaldi with Daniel Roland and Maya Bogdanovic, then a concert piece by Vasily Brandt with Marco Silva, soloist, who will also be my guest tomorrow. Then the clarinet concertino by Weber with soloist Yaogang Chai, and then after the interval, clapping music by Steve Reich, led by Javon Gilliam. And yet another world premiere after that, but this time by one of our own, by faculty violinist Nicola Daltricot, featuring the composer and Zandi van Dijk as soloists. And then finally that piece by John Mackey that Zandi mentioned last night, Asphalt Cocktail. Picture the scariest NYC taxi ride you can imagine, with the cab skidding around turns as trucks bear down from all sides, serve on the rocks. Sounds like my ride home later. If you're around during the day tomorrow, don't miss the violin masterclass with Anna Vasileva at 3, or the 2 student ensemble concerts that take place at 1 p.m. and at 5 p.m. In the meantime, I'm pouring myself a glass of wine and heading off to the Student Composers Jam across the way, and will be sure to report back to you tomorrow when I see you for another day of chamber music magic at the Sicmf. On behalf of the team here at the Endler Hall, this is John Woodland wishing you good night.